Thanks all for coming in this evening, and thanks to everyone who's watching on Facebook. Really nice to see you, or for you to see me anyway. So today is quite a big day for me in terms of launching Stuck in Your World. Many people here will know that the past year has been quite a challenging and difficult one for me in many different ways, not least because I had a really bad bout of depression during the year. And the fact that we are all sitting here and you're all watching on Facebook today is a real testament to the support and love that I've had from everyone. So I really want to say thank you to you all, because without it this book would not exist, and I would not be in the place that I am today. So that is my gushy bit, but I do have some special thank yous to say. So thank you to Rachel and Matt for hosting us here at Craven Coffee today. Craven Coffee is the best place to eat and drink in Tottenham. So, you know, if you're not from Tottenham and you're in the area, do come in, check it out. The food's amazing, it's got a great atmosphere, and they do really special cocktails, as we all know. But also there are some people who really helped me in the practical process of the book. So a big thank you to Laura, to Hayley and to Kerry-Ann, who all played a part in helping this book be a very real thing that lands in your Kindle, your e-reader of whatever kind, or on your doorstep as a paperback. So I wanted to share some bits of the book with you today, and so I'm going to be reading the first couple of chapters. Chapter 1 introduces some very new characters who you would not have heard of before, but are very important to the story as a whole. And then chapter 2 skips back to the story that we have and follows Sketch's adventures in our current world. Okay. Chapter 1. The overpowering artificial scent of pungent tangerine and clove potpourri was the first thing he remembered about 69 Stagshaw Drive, the first thing he remembered about anything. The second was the sight of a large red-faced man wearing pyjamas styled as the kit of an American football player. The man didn't have a ball or a helmet, but he burst through the door with the ferocity of an excited sportsman before stopping beside a bookcase full of CDs, videos and vinyl records. He bent over, gasping and wheezing, hands upon his knees. What? Inhaler? Asthma? The sound of erratic breathing, combined with feet clumping down the stairs, along the wall-to-wall beige carpet and Aztec print borders, and into the contemporary lounge, furnished with a floral patterned three-piece suite. Oh my, said Claire McIntosh in her M&S t-shirt nightie, and pink foam noodles twisted throughout her flaming red hair. Her mouth stayed open, her eyes transfixed on the figure of a thin, dark-skinned teenager sat cross-legged in the centre of her new habitat rug, naked. Said her husband. She backed into the hall of wall-to-wall beige carpet and Aztec borders and returned with the blue plastic NHS-issued lifesaver and handed it to her husband. He puffed once, twice, and his breathing began to become routine, in and out at regular intervals. Steve, there's a naked man in our house. Steve McIntosh moved in front of his wife, his shoulders hunched and fists raised. Don't move, he said to the undressed male sitting on the rug. Claire, call the police. 999, not the local number. The man on the rug moved his eyes between the two occupants of the house. They were a hazel brown colour and blinked every few seconds. The naked man said nothing. What do you think you're doing? You can't just break into someone's house and sit on their floor in your birthday suit. It's unhygienic. Steve stayed by the doorframe, maintaining the distance between them, in case nakedness was contagious. Well, say something. Steve scratched his nose and spun his head towards the kitchen, where a brand new touch-button phone hung on a pale yellow wall. His wife was talking to the receiver to what he assumed was the police control centre. I've no idea if the lock's broken. Steve heard a noise. Yes, Steve, that's my husband, Steve McIntosh. Me? I'm Mrs. Steve McIntosh. Claire. Steve looked back at the naked man. Only his eyelashes were moving. Blink after blink, with pupils dilated and eyeballs focused on a nearby piece of fluff on the floor which had escaped Claire's meticulous vacuuming regime. Don't speak then. We'll see what the police have to say. Thank God the government's taken a tough stance on crime. Probably bang you up for this. Breaking and entry and indecent exposure. Imagine if we had children. filling the silence with spontaneous, unfiltered thoughts. "The police said not to go near him," said Claire, reappearing behind his left ear. "They'll be here in 10 minutes. I'll put the heating on, shall I?" She shuffled off in her sheepskin slippers. Steve stood in vigil, moving from foot to foot, examining the intruder for clues of who he was or what he might be doing there. He guessed him to be in his late teens, maybe early 20s, younger than Steve himself, but not by many years. A lack of clothing made ascertaining any more tough for the couple. His skin showed no sign of visible acne. His face was clean-shaven, and the hue of his body, though dark, could have been Mediterranean or of pale Asian origin. Steve was rubbish at working out where people came from. Most likely a care in the community case, given the state of undress of their invited guest. He didn't look dangerous, sat with his modesty on show, but Steve wasn't going to take any chances. "Don't even think of trying anything. I'm allowed to protect my home, protect my wife against dangerous criminals. The law's on my side." Claire stood in the kitchen, looking at their beautiful new gas cooker, the dishwasher and fridge freezer adorned with a varied collection of magnets. How could something be happening in a place like this? The marketing prior to purchase promised Greenlands would be safe, a place for families and people starting out on a journey through life together. A perfect location, a perfect home. No need to do the place up before moving in. Everything a perfectly neutral magnolia canvas on which to apply your stamp at leisure. They'd already begun the home transformation with the help of a growing pile of decorating magazines and multiple trips to the local DIY superstore. Never did she imagine a stark as Buddha-like creature setting up camp in her lounge. "I'm putting on the kettle, Steve. The police will be wanting a cuppa at this time of night." "Scotch would be better," she sighed, pulling out a couple of tumblers given to them as wedding gifts. "I'm not sure they're there to drink on duty, and one of them will be driving," she said. "It's for me, love, not the police." The doorbell rang, emitting a neutral electronic ding-dong. Claire's parents brought up to know that musical bell tones were common, and she was determined there wouldn't be anything common about number 69. "I'll get it," she shouted to Steve, making her way to the front door, which stood locked but not bolted. No need for added safety precautions in a lovely new residential area such as Greenlands. "Mrs. McIntosh, you reported an intruder on the premises." A couple of unruffled, uniformed police officers stood on the doorstep holding up identification. "Oh, thank goodness you're here." She lowered her voice to a loud fake whisper and cupped her hands around the sides of her mouth. "The thing is, he's got no clothes on." "Thank you, madam. We're aware of this. Whereabouts is the man in question?" Claire pointed down the hall to the lounge, where her husband and his ward remained in self-imposed imprisonment. The police officers paused to introduce themselves as PC Benjamin and PC Arnold before striding down the corridor, hands gripping their truncheons. "Can I make you a cup of tea?" Claire's words trailed off. She shut the door to keep the heating and to stop the naked burglar becoming a streaker by making a run for him. PC Benjamin and Arnold scanned the lounge and exchanged nods. PC Arnold moved towards the man on the rug and crouched down. "Hello, sir. Can you tell me your name?" "He won't tell you sod all. He can't speak," said Steve. "Are you cold?" Her colleague turned to Steve, whose face had puffed up with his huffing. "Do you think we could get a blanket, sir, so we can cover him up?" Steve huffed. "If you break into people's houses in the small hours and take all your clothes off, you can't complain if you're a bit chilly." "I can't see any clothes, Mr. McIntosh, unless he's left them out in the garden or at the back door. We'll have a look. In the meantime, blanket, please, sir." Steve went to speak, then swallowed his words, resulting in a hybrid noise, a cross between a gulp and a groan. With the room cleared, PC Benjamin and PC Arnold continued to attempt communication with their suspect. Neither gentle coaxing nor a stern approach succeeded in soliciting a response, but the man's rapid, regular blinking stopped. "Best call in, Arnold, and request medical assistance. We're going to need a quack on this one." He turned to the naked man. "We can't ID you, so you'll be John Doe. Oh, mind you, there's a lot of them around, so I'll put you down as Michael. My son's called Michael." The constable jotted down the details in his regulation issue notebook. Michael would remember the snippets of this first encounter, although the details would fade over the years until all that remained was a composite of mind pictures and fragments of phrases. He would agonise over smells, sounds, words of the night, interrogating them to find clues as to how he ended up there, as to who he was. But when Michael found himself in the middle of the Macintoshes' lounge competing for space, there was an ugly glass coffee table with an ugly glass coffee table. He didn't know where he was, who he was, or what he was. No, that's chapter 1. No. Thank you. Now, for everyone who's read book 1, this is going to be a little bit familiar. You'll know the characters. If you don't, there are some spoilers in here, so but there's no avoiding that one. So, chapter 2. Trevor was a new man. He often felt like this, in most instances after meeting a new man, albeit for a brief dalliance. He wore the kind of smile that caused people to imagine he might have been up to all sorts, and in Trevor's case, he usually had. This time, he couldn't attribute his fresh view of life to some hookup or budding romance destined not to end in a fairy tale fashion. This time, it was because of Sketch. Since December, the young woman, who had lived most of her recent life as one of the many energies working inside a computer to make it function in the way humans expect, had been staying with him. Having a new, younger flatmate who saw the world through the eyes of a child, with the awe and wonder they tried to teach in religious education at school, and with the day-to-day view of life as a beautiful adventure to be embraced, had transformed him. He'd not become a perfect specimen of humanity. He still growled with screwed-up eyes until his first cup of double-shot coffee, failed to put the toilet seat down, and never remembered to replace the empty cardboard loo roll holder with a roll he could use to wipe his bum. Sketch learned each of these things within days of moving in and altered her behaviour to compensate for it. Compromise was a key lesson learnt by Sketch during her time in London. But she drew a bold double line under Trevor leaving his dirty underpants in the kitchen sink. Pants live on your bum, pants live in your chest of drawers, or pants live in the washing machine, or pants live in the washing basket. Pants do not live in the sink with unwashed pot noodle containers, she said, holding up a pair of designer boxer shorts with the tips of her yellow rubber gloves. They're clean, said Trevor, shrugging his shoulders from his favourite spot on the sofa. But they're not going to stay like that as you pile dirty plates and cups on top of them. Ah, well, they're just pants. I can buy new pants. Sketch sighed. But you might not have a job soon. Don't you think it would be better to save up for your underwear just in case? Saving's good, right? Trevor turned away from the TV, leant back against the back of the sofa and looked at Sketch. Sometimes her logic could be damning. Oh, you're trying to burst my bubble? Try not to think about the library. Let's talk about your hair instead. Sketch moved herself in front of her reflection in a strategically positioned mirror. The mirror was good for self-admiration she found humans enjoyed. It proved easier for her to fall into the habit of looking at her face, an avatar she'd selected before being sent to the human world on a regular basis. Echoed back to her visual cortex was a young, olive-skinned, oval-shaped face with piercing green eyes. Her hair, platinum blonde, was styled with gel in overgrown spikes. It's getting a bit long, she said, tapping the spikes gently with the soft pads of her fingers. Oh, it's going to be classified as a deadly weapon if those peaks get any higher. Either that or men with ropes will start trying to climb them. Sketch bent ahead and lunged her way towards Trevor, who ducked to the side, sending her headlong into the grey sofa cushions. Sketch convulsed with laughter before spreading her guffaws like an infectious virus to Trevor, and the pair of them both in a painful cycle of uninhibited laughter. Sketch loved living with Trevor. As much as he enjoyed sharing with her, she laughed, guffawed and giggled with him. Everyone needs fun in their lives, she thought. What have you been up to today then? Asked Trevor. Sketch looked down at her fingernails and bit her lip. Not much. Hanging out. The usual. Her voice drifted off as she spoke, betraying her lack of nonchalance. Trevor sat up and manoeuvred her around so they sat face to face. I think you should do something other than trying to fix the computer. It's only making you sad, and like my mum said, the wind will change and your face will stay like that. Sketch screwed up her face and stuck out her tongue. She knew Trevor referred to the broken computer in the corner of the living room, the computer she existed in as a trainee energy before being sent to London to learn what life is like for human IT users. Get a bit tired now. While it remained a dead shell, she was stuck in this world, with no hope of returning to her home at the core. Come on, it's a little bit funny, said Trevor. I'm just worried about you. Come into the library this afternoon. Becky would love to see you. I suppose, said Sketch, but I can't help wondering what happened to all those other energies. After a sudden termination, engaging a proper transformation plan is complicated. They might still be there. I might be able to save them. Save them and go home, she thought. It was one thing being in a different city or another country where the culture was alien to you, but another to be in a remote world in a form which was intended to be temporary. London and the people there had been kind to her. Being in the city had taught her much and helped develop a growing understanding of the human world, but she wished to be back where she belonged, in the core. If there was the slightest chance of restoring power to the computer, she had to keep trying. Babes, I get it, I do. Well, I kind of do. Some mornings I think maybe I took too many drugs in my raving days because your life story sounds a bit trippy. But coming in and hanging out, he raised his fingers in mock speech marks, with some crazy-ass librarians might distract you for a few hours. She flung her arms around her housemate and hugged him tight. Hugs were a definite advantage to living in human form. Maybe she was fortunate not to have been transformed back to her world before the collapse occurred, but it didn't stop her thinking about those who remained, in particular Inko, her closest friend from the core, whom she yearned for the most. I guess I do love being around you guys and all those books. There's something magical about books. She grinned, picturing in her head pages of novels, non-fiction manuals on how-to-dos, recipes, books and histories, all of which could be located online in the binary code of the internet, but there was something solid and permanent about print. Put some clothes on then, said Trevor, grabbing his mobile phone from the coffee table. He looked around for his keys. While I love your Star Wars Kit-Kat gym jams, you might attract some funny looks on the high street. She laughed and poked her tongue out in his direction before jumping up and ambling towards her small box bedroom on the other side of the London attic flat. I just wondered if anyone had any questions that they wanted to ask. No, that's fine. That's absolutely perfect. So thank you everyone so much.